Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're looking closely at the experiences of a pet parent, Kay, and her dog, Sauli. They went through a pretty big move across the world.
Yeah, it's quite a story, and we've got some great source material. There's Kay's blog post, The Day I Flew Across the Globe Without My Shadow. Very personal account.
Right, that gives us her side. It came out late April 2025.
That's right, April 25th and 26th. And then there's the picture book inspired by it, Sauli's Day Across the Planet. That's actually coming out super soon, May 4th, and it's up for pre-order now.
Okay, great. So we have the personal blog and the book. And, while it's Kay and Sauli's specific journey, the feelings involved, wow, they're pretty universal.
Totally, that anxiety of separation.
Exactly. If you listening have ever felt that kind of tug of worry when you're away from a pet or even a person you love,
Wah!
well, this deep dive is definitely for you.
We're really going to try and unpack Kay's whole experience.
Yeah, and see what it tells us about that connection, that bond we have with our animals.
So let's start with that anxiety. Kay writes about the night before she flew to India.
Mm-hmm.
And what really struck me was her big worry wasn't, packing or the flight details. It was leaving Sauli.
Yeah, that really comes through. She talks about this weight in her chest. Purely about leaving her dog.
Right.
And it's not just the physical leaving, is it? It's that impossibility of, how do you even explain this to your dog?
You can. That's the hard part.
And she's wrestling with preparing Sauli, sure, but also herself for this huge separation. What does that tell us about, well, the nature of their attachment?
Well, look at the word she uses for Sauli. It's fascinating. My shadow, my tornado.
Ah, I like my tornado.
Me too. And then really powerful, my anchor in all the chaos of life.
Wow.
These aren't just like cute nicknames, They show this really deep emotional reliance. How central Sauli is to her stability, her well-being.
That makes so much sense. Our pets really do become these anchors, don't they?
They absolutely can.
And then you pile on the whole air travel thing for a pet. That's a whole other layer of stress.
Oh, definitely. Kay specifically mentions being scared Sauli would be terrified mid-flight.
Yeah, and the what ifs. What if something goes wrong up there, 30,000 feet?
Exactly, and that worry that Sauli might feel abandoned. That's such a human projection, but so real for pet owners.
It is. You can't help but put yourself in their paws, so to speak, even if you know they don't process it the same way we do.
Absolutely. And once they're out of your sight, that lack of control is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Kay's experience when she actually got to India really highlights this. She arrives, but she can't sleep. She's crying.
Still worried about Sauli.
Constantly. Just wondering, is she okay? How is she doing? That bond, it just stretches across the continents, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Which leads us to a really specific challenge they faced, Sauli's history with crates.
Ah, yes, the crate anxiety. This wasn't just like mild dislike.
No. Kay calls her a Houdini in fur. Apparently, she'd broken out of almost every crate they'd tried.
Houdini in first, I love that. But seriously, knowing that, making the decision to put her in a crate, on a plane, alone, for that long flight.
That must have been agonizing.
Incredibly difficult. I mean, you're picturing your already anxious dog, who's a known escape artist, freaking out, confined thousands of miles away.
Yeah. It really amps up the emotional stakes, doesn't it?
It really does. It says so much about how important it was for Kay to bring Sauli with her, even facing that huge hurdle. Yeah. You wonder what the other options were, or if this just felt like the only way, despite the risks.
Maybe. But, okay, so after all that worry, all that specific crate anxiety, the story takes a turn.
Yes. Kay writes it so simply, but it's packed with emotion. But somehow, she made it. My brave little girl made it.
Ah, the relief in those words. You can just feel it lifting off the page.
Absolutely. A huge, huge release. That successful journey is everything.
And it leads to the reunion in India.
Which sounds incredibly moving. Kay describes Sauli hesitating for just a split second.
Like, is that really you?
Exactly. And then, boom, this leap of recognition, pure joy.
Oh, I can picture it.
Kay says, that moment, I'll never forget it. And you believe her. Anyone who's reunited with someone they love after a long time knows that feeling.
That immediate confirmation, right? That connection survived the distance. It's still there.
Precisely. And that powerful moment, that whole intense experience, actually became the seed for the picture book.
Sauli's Day Across the Planet.
Yep.
It's amazing how something so personal, so stressful at the time, can become this story to share.
It really is. And what's neat is how the book shifts perspective.
Oh. How so?
Well, the blog is Kay's experience, her anxiety, her relief. The book tells the story from Sauli's point of view.
Oh, interesting. Trying to imagine what it was like for her.
Exactly. What might that separation feel like? What was the journey like through her eyes or nose, maybe? It's a fantastic way to build empathy, especially for kids.
Yeah, that's a great way to approach it. Different from the blog is another dimension.
And Kay's vision for who the book is for. It's really broad.
Right. She mentioned kids who've missed someone.
Yep. And adults who've, had that lump in their throat at the airport.
In there.
Haven't we all? And of course, all the pet parents who've ever had to say goodbye, even temporarily.
It really taps into that universal feeling of longing and connection. And the theme she mentions, love travels oceans.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Simple, powerful, true.
It really is. So to understand Kay in this story a bit more, it helps to know a little about her, right?
Yeah, definitely. The background mentions she's a data scientist.
Which is interesting. And also an expressive writer. Values collaboration, transparency.
Data science and heartfelt pet stories. Not the most obvious combination, maybe?
Maybe not. But you can see how that data-driven side, that ability to take complex stuff and make it understandable, might feed into her writing.
Like a way of observing and structuring her experiences.
Perhaps. A kind of thoughtful approach, maybe, both in her job and, well, clearly in her relationship with her pets.
And that relationship is key. Her personal journey as a, quote, parent seems central.
Totally. It started with Romo, a rescue shepherd mix she learned a lot from, sounds like.
And sadly, Romo passed away, but now Sauli is kind of carrying on that spirit. It shows this isn't just a casual thing for her, it's deep.
Yeah, a consistent, deep connection with animals throughout her life.
And it fuels her creativity, right. She also wrote Cooking for Your Pup.
Oh, right. So it's not just this one big event, it's an ongoing theme, blending her love for animals with storytelling and sharing practical care tips.
It makes sense why her writing connects with people. It comes from such an authentic place, that deep bond she clearly feels.
So, pulling it all together, Kay and Sauli's journey from that awful pre-flight anxiety to the happy reunion, it's just a really vivid example of that powerful connection between people and pets.
A really enduring bond. It shows how much these animals weave themselves into the fabric of our lives, our emotions.
Absolutely. It's more than just having a pet around. It shapes our worries, like Kay's sleepless nights.
And our biggest joys, like that reunion moment. And it even sparks creativity, like the book.
This whole experience clearly left a huge mark on Kay, prompting her to share it in a way that, probably resonate with so many others.
Because those feelings, the anxiety before saying goodbye, the sheer relief of seeing them again, they're universal, aren't they? Whether it's a person or a pet.
Yeah, the intensity just shows how deep those attachments run. So, as you've been listening to this story unfold, maybe think about this. Have you ever had a moment, maybe not as dramatic as flying across the globe, but a moment that really cemented how deep your connection is with your pet? Or, with anyone you care deeply about? What did that moment teach you about?
Well, about how strong that bond can be, how resilient.
Yeah, it's a powerful thing to reflect on. That feeling, that love, that connection, it really can cross oceans, overcome challenges, and soothe our biggest worries.